We will start this meeting. If we are ready to go?
Yep, they said it.
All right, it is 5:01 on July 15th. We're going to begin with the closed session agenda. Call this meeting to order. And could please do a roll call?
Yes, sir. Mr. Blades.
Present.
Mr. Rajaratnam.
Present.
Mr. Heyman.
Present.
Mr. Gorman.
Present.
We have 4 council members present. Mr. Endicott will not be with us tonight, but we do have a quorum.
Okay. Barring any questions or issues from the staff or the council, can I get an approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve. Second.
Mr. Blades, it's just so weird. I'm so used to starting with mayor. It just doesn't come out right.
I get it.
Mr. Blades.
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam.
Aye.
Mr. Heyman.
Aye.
Mr. Gorman.
Aye.
4 ayes, motion carries.
Okay, now we're on to public comment of items on closed session. And so I do not see anybody in attendance. I do not see anybody on the phone, but we will give it a few minutes, 1 or 2, for the time delay. So we will give it a couple shakes of the lamb's tail. Seeing none, hearing none. Closed session is on conference of legal counsel, existing litigation. Mojave Pistachios v. Indian Wells Valley Water District et al. And then we will now move into closed session. We come back out. We will work on the attorney's report. Thank you. See everybody, we are back out of closed session, and we need to finish up that portion of the agenda. So could you give your report, sir?
Certainly. Mayor, council members, one item was considered in closed session as depicted on the agenda. No reportable actions were taken by the council. For the record, the mayor was able to join virtually during the closed session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we will adjourn on a closed session and get into the open regular session. Okay, we probably do not need to do a roll call again. We're already complete there. So on to an approval of the agenda. So council members, barring any questions, can I get an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Please vote. Skip? Sir? 4 ayes, 1 absent, motion carries.
Okay, now if I could get everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then remain standing for the invocation, please. Captain Maroney, if you would. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in prayer if you would. Lord, thank you for giving us this day. Thank you for Ridgecrest, where we live, we cherish. Lord, I pray for our country. Lord, give the leaders of our country right direction so that we be a blessing to not only to our country and to many countries all over the world. Lord, I pray for the troops who are in harm's way, protect them from all evil. Lord, I pray for the situation in Iran. Lord, let there be your peace soon in that area, Lord. Lord, I pray for our police department who work hard and put their lives on line for protecting us. Lord, I pray for all the people who are here today. Lord, I pray for the city council. Lord, thank you for giving us this opportunity to serve on the council. Lord, give us your wisdom, your direction, so that we take right decisions which are beneficial to this community. In Jesus' precious name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, so fellow council members, we're going to move right into council presentations, which is Parks and Recreation Week proclamation. So if you could all join us down. Solomon, thank you for reading the proclamation. No, go ahead. You sure?
No.
No, it's okay. So you guys can please come on down if you don't mind. Come on down. We're reading this thing. We're all together here. Yeah. So I'll give one to you, and I'm going to read one.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for being here. Narissa, this is a strong showing. I appreciate it. So this is a proclamation from us honoring Parks and Rec Professionals Week, July 13th to the 19th. Whereas Parks and Recreation programs, open spaces, community centers, athletic facilities, and public gathering spaces are essential assets that enhance the quality of life, health, wellness, and economic vitality of the residents of the city of Ridgecrest. And whereas the National Recreation and Park Association has recognized July as National Park and Recreation Month since 1985 to celebrate the important role local park and recreation agencies and professionals play in building stronger, healthier, and more connected communities. Whereas the 2026 national theme, The Power Of, recognizes the power of parks and recreation to strengthen communities through wellness, conservation, inclusion, recreation, environmental stewardship, social connection. And whereas recreation professionals provide valuable programs, services, events, sports, classes, cultural opportunities, and activities that enrich the lives of residents of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds while fostering community engagement and lifelong wellness. Whereas park maintenance and operations professionals work diligently year-round to maintain parks, playgrounds, sports fields, landscaping, trees, public buildings, recreation facilities, and infrastructure to ensure the public spaces remain safe, clean, functional, accessible, and welcoming for all residents and visitors. And whereas the combined efforts of recreation staff, maintenance crews, operations personnel, volunteers, and community partners are vital to preserving public resources, protecting natural spaces, supporting public safety, and delivering high-quality recreational opportunities throughout the community. And whereas the City of Ridgecrest proudly recognizes the contributions and dedication of its Park and Recreation Department and acknowledges the essential role both recreation programming and park and facility maintenance play in strengthening community pride, wellness, and resilience. And now therefore, the Ridgecrest City Council hereby proclaims July 2026 as Park and Recreation Month and July 13th through 19th as Parks and Recreation Professional Celebration Week, and encourages all residents to recognize and celebrate the invaluable contributions of parks and recreation professionals, maintenance and operations personnel, and all those who work to provide safe, welcoming, and vibrant parks and recreation opportunities for the entire community. I made
Sounds
it.
like week off.
I made it. So this is presented by the entire city council, signed by everybody. Thank you all. Robert,
Appreciate it, Kyle.
there you go. You're
Thank you.
very welcome. Thank you all, of course. And if you would please come up for a picture. Yeah, Narissa, I almost missed the speech part.
No, it's not a speech.
Oh, I
though.
heard speech.
I just want to say thank you to all my staff. Without all of their hard work and dedication, our department wouldn't succeed the way that it does. So thank you all.
It's your turn.
Narissa.
Oh, she's gonna do it.
It's your award, so you get up front, and you guys go to the center of the picture. Knees down, and then we get behind. All right. Now we are on to public comments of items not on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the council on matters that are within the council's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Council will not respond to any public comments, but they may provide direction to staff to collect information. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council may not act on an item that does not appear on this agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. The public comment section of the agenda is limited to a total of 1 hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. Just one moment. Thank you.
You ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. Sorry I missed a few weeks. My name is Mike Lasitra, and I wanted to speak again about the 24 AI-powered Flock surveillance cameras in this city. The number of communities cutting ties with Flock has been accelerating in recent months, but one instance is of particular importance. The Los Angeles Police Department allowed their contract with Flock to lapse this past weekend for many reasons, but the first one sounds very familiar. The LAPD takes issue with granting Flock the ability to store all the collected information and metadata in their cloud and use it to train their AI algorithms. Jamie and I, as well as many others, have brought the overly permissive language in sections 4.3 and 5.3 of the Flock contract to this council's attention many times. These sections allow Flock to share the data it collects on the public while they drive around this city with any organization that they have a good faith belief that they will find useful. The LAPD is looking for a contract that allows the city to exclusively own all their data and specifically prevent Flock from sharing it with anybody else or use it for developing future products. That sounds pretty fair. If Flock is a local crime-fighting tool, then why do we have to permit them unlimited access to our data? Why does the LAPD have the courage to fix this major issue, but Ridgecrest continues to brush it off? A statement from the LAPD reads, "This contract is not being renewed because of serious concerns about civil liberties and civil rights issues, particularly around privacy and the data that is being collected from these cameras." The LAPD had to make a difficult decision. In this case, discontinuing Flock services until we can get those data privacy security sharing concerns ironed out through a contractual relationship. How fantastic. The LAPD understands the issue that we've been raising for months and is working to fix it. Not only that, they are discontinuing using Flock services until a solution can be worked out. I commend them for taking this seriously. The data storage is just one issue. Another one is problems with the hot list feature that has resulted in hundreds of innocent people being pulled over in unnecessary traffic stops. Flock's system offers a hot list function where vehicles can be flagged for reasons like being reported stolen and then be alerted whenever the vehicle is detected nearby. Sounds great, except this feature is frequently inaccurate because of a bad or incomplete initial data, errors in entering the information, not removing a vehicle if it is recovered, or if the Flock system itself makes a bad match. One recent case involved an innocent woman spending 13 days in jail for allegedly causing a multi-vehicle crash with fatalities. A witness said that the person responsible was driving a black Dodge Durango that was entered into the hot list function. No other information like license plate was added, so immediately a similar car was located nearby and the driver arrested. At no point did the police look at the vehicle and observe that it had not been involved in a collision. They also didn't update the search when witnesses said the car was actually a different color and was able to provide a different license plate. She spent 13 days in jail without bond because of a single hit from a Flock camera and the PD's complete failure to investigate further. The LAPD recently audited just 2 months of traffic stops and found that 161 of them were completely unnecessary. The summary states, when records are not updated in a timely manner, officers may act on inaccurate or outdated information, increasing the risk of unnecessary enforcement actions, including vehicle stops and wrongful detentions, or a confrontation with serious consequences. Given the recent events in June 18th, I hope this warning bears significant weight. The report goes on with, in addition to creating an inconvenience for vehicle owners, these inaccuracies can affect individual liberty interests, erode public trust, and potentially create substantial legal and financial liability concerns. Speaking of eroding the public trust, why is former Mayor Eric Bruin a private investor to Flock? Flock is not a public company, so you can't buy shares of it on the stock market. It is a private company that raises money through fundraising rounds. They offer private stock in exchange for a pretty hefty investment. The investor is trying to get in in early before the company goes public with an IPO when they can make a huge return. Mr. Bruin is telling us on Facebook that he is the primary proponent of the system and also trying to make money from its success. That would be fine if he wasn't the mayor when the city started giving Flock some of our tax money, but he was. Is he still influencing this council and advising them to ignore our concerns that dozens of other communities have acted upon, including the LAPD, to protect his investment? Just last month, this council approved the new city budget with a Flock extension buried deep inside.
Thank you, Mr. Litcher. Appreciate it.
Good evening, Mayor. Mayor's not here. Council and Ridgecrest citizens. I want a safe Ridgecrest. Sorry, my name is Jamie Jones. A few people have been asking online, so just putting that out there. I want a safe and prosperous Ridgecrest. I want our officers to have effective tools. But when this Flock system was approved, the promise was strict auditing, accountability, and transparency. I want to show you tonight that the opposite has happened. Transparency here hasn't improved. It has collapsed into a black box. And I think that should concern the council regardless of how anyone feels about the underlying technology. First, some context from outside this room. Last month, Bishop's City Council voted to cancel its Flock contract for public comment sessions, which we have not had. And not one resident spoke in favor of keeping it. Their own police chief said publicly that listening to residents made him more open to alternatives. And 4 days ago, as Mike stated, the LAPD, the third largest police force in the country, let the Flock contract expire. Their CIO said, quote, "This contract is not being renewed because of serious concerns around civil liberties and civil rights issues." LAPD's own Inspector General found a 32.3% false positive rate on stolen vehicles early this year. A small town 90 miles away and the largest police department in the state both walked away for the same reason. Now Ridgecrest's own records. I want to be precise here tonight because precision is what is going to make this credible. From May through October 2025, officers' names appeared on almost every Ridgecrest search run. Then, starting in November, that collapsed. As of December 2nd, 2025, officers' names stopped appearing entirely. This wasn't decided in this building. I want to make that very clear. Flock's own vice president of solutions sent an email to every customer nationwide announcing the company would strip officers' names, plate numbers, and search reasons going forward, and then retroactively replace names that were already public with the word redacted. Flock has since said this was about protecting the officer safety and active investigations, but their own public statements at the time pointed to a different reason, a rising volume of public records requests exposing exactly this kind of activity. A private vendor decided unilaterally that this council's ability to oversee its own department was no longer something it would provide, and its own stated motive doesn't match its public excuse. Every search run under Ridgecrest's account in all of 2026, 1,361 of them as of the end of June, has 0 officer names and 0 case numbers attached to it. I want to be very clear as to why that is here in a second. Again, I don't think these decisions are being made in this room. That's not a technical limitation. In 2025, this department logged 498 real cases. In 2026, it logged none. When a reason is written, it's one word, like test or theft or domestic. Why are case numbers no longer showing up? With no operational context, an outside auditor could actually check. This isn't an audit log anymore, it's a rubber stamp. Here's why that matters beyond bookkeeping. Ridgecrest's own account has run searches reaching into El Cajon's camera network 434 times. El Cajon is sharing this data with law enforcement agencies across 20 states. The daisy chaining isn't a hypothetical anymore. And the loss of transparency isn't accidental. It's the business model. The current Flock contract gives the company, quote, "the exclusive rights to determine and control the method, timing, and format of the medium of the data the city that we supposedly own." That line used to say Flock does not own and shall not sell customer data is gone from the current contract. Under the new terms, Flock's liability for a data breach is capped even in cases of gross negligence, meaning if a false positive stops like we've seen nationwide happen, Flock keeps the subscription fees, and we are liable in the city. So I don't have much time left tonight, so here are my two asks, and neither requires anyone in this room to agree with me about anything philosophical. One, California law requires an audit annually of ALPR system access. Has this been done? If yes, produce it. If no, please tell us why. Two, review what I have said here tonight. We've opened ourselves up to a lot of liability as a town, and Flock has thrown its customers under the bus. It's not surprising that a company like them would try and push liability onto its customers. Bishop and LA show this can be resolved without a fight. I'm asking for two things this council can actually go check. You all have emails sitting in your inbox tonight from me with all of these sources. Please read them. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good evening, Council. My name is Edward Chaika. I want to begin by being very clear. I am not anti-police, not anti-technology, or anti-surveillance. I understand systems like Flock can provide investigative value and to help solve crimes. But anything implemented in the interest of public safety should also be subject to public oversight, transparency, accountability, especially systems that collect and aggregate behavioral data on the public. The elected officials here tonight are the public-facing stewards of those policies and practices, whether the system is operated directly by the city or by a contractor. There's a lot of questions involving this that I think needs answers. First one, who has access to the data? I've already heard information about how it's being shared across multiple states. How long is that information being retained? Has the city ever received an independent security assessment of this deployment? What documented processes exist if a credible security vulnerability is reported tomorrow? What's the process? Has the city independently evaluated the risks associated with this system, or has it relied primarily on the vendor saying everything's okay? What metrics have been used to justify future expansions of this network, and what is the long-term cost? Those aren't anti-police questions. Those are governance questions. Now, I've mapped a lot of the cameras here in town. You can find them on the DFLOC website. But it's more, when I look at the map, I realize it's more than just a collection of individual cameras. Together, they create a system capable of revealing movement and patterns over time. If a private citizen stood near a major commuting corridor every day with cameras recording and cataloging movement of patterns of residents, most people would understandably ask questions. What's being collected? Why? How long? And who has access to it? Same questions for the Flock system. So when a government-operated or government-contracted system performs similar large-scale collections, an aggregation of behavioral data, those same questions become even more important, not less. Another concern unique to Ridgecrest is we are a defense-connected community. Many of our residents work at Naval Air Weapons Station, China Lake, or for defense contractors supporting our national security missions. A persistent monitoring system positioned right outside the front gate, okay, monitoring the corridors of everybody that has base access. It reveals movement of the workforce and patterns over time. Has any independent operational security or cybersecurity risk assessment been performed to evaluate that risk? If not, why? There is also now publicly available information and reports, YouTube videos, demonstrating the flaws and vulnerabilities of the Flock systems, including people being able to just log in remotely and just watch it and stream it. I'm not standing here tonight claiming that Ridgecrest cameras are compromised. I'm not. I'm just asking some questions, very important questions, like what independent verification exists to ensure the systems deployed in our city are properly secured, maintained, audited, and configured according to current security standards. Because contracting out a public service does not contract away the responsibility to provide public oversight. The public entrusted the city, not the vendor, with this decision. I don't recall asking for it. Therefore, where the city retains the responsibility to understand the risks, evaluate the safeguards, and provide oversight, even when the technology is operated by a contractor. If strong safeguards already exist, then transparency should strengthen the public trust. If gaps exist and remain unresolved, then the public deserves to understand why. I know I've asked a lot of questions. I don't expect to have answers from everybody for any of this all at once. But the questions here have been raised publicly. They're not going away. There's more people talking about this over the last few months. So what's stated as concerns about security becoming even a broader discussion about governance, transparency, and accountability. The public is paying attention. Good governance doesn't require perfect answers. It requires a willingness to ask difficult questions, seek honest answers, and be accountable to the public. Public trust isn't built by asking people to stop asking questions. It's built by answering them. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Brenda LaCitra from Ridgecrest 5051. Our group is made up of both conservatives and liberals who are united against government overreach with the goal to restore checks and balances and stand up for justice. I'm very proud of the people in our community in Ridgecrest who raised $2,000 in a little over a week with the purpose of the funds being used for visiting detainees inside the ICE detention center and the CoreCivic California City facility. Our group has been going twice a week, at least for the last 2 months. We exceeded our funding goals and are now also contributing money onto the detainees' commissary cards. Everything inside the facility is monetized to nickel and dime the people that they're holding there. If you need a warmer sweater because the facility is too cold, you can buy one from the commissary. If your stomach can't take the horrible food that's being served, you can buy some at the commissary. Coffee, buy it at the commissary. A little jar of Folgers is $8. If you want to send a text message to your family and friends, you have to use their apps on their tablets. And guess what? Each text message is 80 cents. I would like to invite members of the City Council here to go with our group to meet the people being held in detention. We have an appointment coming up this Monday at 5:15 p.m. It is important for you to know what is happening an hour south of us, in our county, and see it with your own eyes. I've read over a dozen reports from Quasi volunteers about people who they have met being detained and the horrible conditions inside. These are multiple reports from different blocks of the detention center. So these are real conditions that have been corroborated. As I understand it, the people in different blocks have no communication with each other. You can read the redacted reports on our website at ridgecrest50501.com and click on the link provided in the Lady Liberty Post. Attorney General Rob Bonita has also been to Cal City and cited that the conditions have gotten worse. I think there's a big misconception of who is being detained as well and what our government legal process is to become a citizen. 80% of the people there have no criminal background. And if you want to seek asylum here in the United States, you are walking into a system that puts you behind bars and makes you wait for your court hearings for nearly 2 years. My husband's grandmother came in through Ellis Island. It took a few hours. The process has changed so much, it is a nightmare of bureaucratic red tape. The system is just completely inhumane right now. I had the chance to meet with a detainee this past Monday, and she wants me to share her story. She came here from Ghana. She's 18 years old. She fled her country because she was dragged through the streets and stoned because she was a lesbian. She fled. Her family tried to protect her once before already by moving communities, but the communities always find out. And in Ghana, they will kill you. She came in through Mexico and Tijuana to cross the border. She was filling out the process of seeking asylum, and she was detained. She's been in Cal City for over 6 months now. She's given calls to the lawyers that they provided her a list, left voicemails. No representation has been provided for her. She has had to fill out all of her legal paperwork herself. She had a hearing that was confusing because the date was changed on her, and she wasn't told what the updated date was going to be for her hearing. So when she was suddenly asked to join the video call, she was very confused. I'd like to ask for 1 more minute.
I can give you about 30 more seconds to wrap it up.
May I ask for someone to yield
Can-
my time?
Can you please just go ahead and wrap it up?
Okay. She was confused by the hearing, and the judge had asked her a question after she had given her testimony. Because of the way the video system works, she was confused who asked the question, and she asked for a clarifying question of who asked the question. The judge was offended by this and said that she didn't believe that she didn't know who asked the question, and then denied her asylum. Because of a small confusion, this judge has sentenced her to death. I'm asking City Council to go with us to meet people in Cal City.
Thank you.
Well, that should be fun to follow. Vanessa, about 4.5 years as a resident, which I know is a blip to the people here, because if your parents weren't born here, you're never going to be a resident. About the flock system, I have a lot less to say than these other obviously educated people who are talking to it. The main thing is how did we enter into a contract where there was such an obvious sense of conflict of interest with Eric Bruin? How did that even happen? I know you're not going to answer, but maybe someday you will. That should have never happened. I am all for the police having every tool at their disposal that they can have. I'm not okay with that being shared out unless there's an Amber Alert, unless there's a murderer on the loose, if there's a reason that something happened in Ridgecrest that other communities need to be aware of and help us track down, that makes sense. But shy of that, Bishop's canceled it, LAPD's canceled it, Tehachapi's trying to cancel theirs. We need to pay attention to what all the other cities around us are acknowledging, and we need to acknowledge it ourselves. There must be some other company, some other data source, some other locked down information system that we can use that's outside of Flock. And no data center. Thank you.
My name is Mike Beatty. It has occurred to me that we are rapidly becoming subjects and not citizens, with a plethora of cameras everywhere, up there, spying on everything that everybody does. We don't need more cameras, okay?
Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me? My name is Kathy Brown, and I kind of put this together real fast tonight. Again, you're probably tired of hearing about Flock, but I just want to say this. I got to get close here. Let's see. San Jose, California, South Pasadena, California, Mountain View, California, Santa Cruz, California, Flagstaff, Arizona, Hillsborough, North Carolina, Norfolk, Virginia, Bishop, California, Eugene, Oregon, Cambridge, Massachusetts, Seattle, Washington, Austin, Texas, and Costa Mesa right now is in reviewing. We want to cancel Flock. All those cities have canceled. And then yesterday, the third largest police department in the country canceled. And the reason why they cancel is very obvious, because it's encroaching on our civil rights and our privacy. I believe in law enforcement 1,000%, but this is over surveillance. It's almost like a police state. And the company already has been proven that they have a back door in their communications where they're sending off illegally out of the state. That's been documented. I do want to thank Mr. Heyman for pointing out that we are all being observed. I mean, we can't get away from it, and I want to thank the police chief for explaining how he was using Block here, because it's difficult. I do understand that. But there comes to a point in our society when too much surveillance, it's like, I feel like, you know, when I leave Walmart parking lot and I get in the street, I don't want to be observed. You know, I have nothing to hide, but I feel like the insect under the microscope, now they put it into this molecular atom level looking at us, you know. I know I'm getting a little crazy here now. But anyway, I think that we need to reevaluate the contract here. For this city, we're a small community. It was brought to my attention that in Los Angeles, which is a very, as we know, millions of people, they have 138 cameras only. We have 24 here. That seems like an overkill to me for a small community. I was aware of the numbers. So when you say 24 here and 138 in all Los Angeles, it didn't make sense to me. I don't know why, but that's just my comment on that. I'd like to also ask about the contract. I understand you're paying $80,000 a year. And if that's accurate, I don't know. But I said to myself, why can't we have a public meeting and the powers that be, let's all get together and let's discuss this. Have we reached an impasse where we cannot work this out and communicate for a better quality of life? I say, you know what? The $80,000, what can't we do in the community? Could we give some to the pregnancy center for the women? Could we help the cooling system open on Sunday? By the way, guys, it's not open on Sunday, but it's 115 degrees. It's only open 6 days a week. Can we help the seniors? Can we help the kids in town get more athletic equipment and make them happy? Give them more things to do with that $80,000. Or if you have any other ideas, I think it'd be great for us all to discuss it. These are just my observations. And as far as the cooling center, if you don't know, the Welcome Center is open 7 days a week from 10 to 5. So if you're really in trouble, you go down there. In the meantime, the cooling system, I think Kern County needs to reevaluate. I went on the website, I was shocked. Their system, if it's 105 degrees in the Kern River Valley, will open it up. If you're in Fraser Park, it's 93 degrees. But by God, if you're in the desert area, it's got to get up to 108 degrees. There's a national heat index, 90 degrees to 103. That means you're in serious trouble. You go to 104, you're in danger of, heat exhaustion. Bump it up to 105. Maybe another 20 minutes, you're going to die of heat. You're going to be in the hospital dying. But anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Good evening, all of you, and Kathy Russell, been here a lot of years. Whether I'm for Flock, against Flock, data center, no data center, when the public comes to you as elected officials, they deserve the right to know that they're being heard. And the fact that it's been brought up so many times seems to me that somebody should make a motion to put on the agenda to clarify it once and for all and be done. Do it. We didn't vote for you to say do whatever you want and do what's best. We voted for you to say you're going to stand up for us because this is what we believe in. It's not fair to say 3 people said something, so it's not a majority. It takes a lot of guts to come here and try to invoke some change. And the fact is, people voted for you hoping that you'd have their back. And the fact that the council has said they like Flock, they're supportive of it, will give us a chance in some forum to make an agenda item so they know they're being heard and you're not just using your opinion to validate the system. It's not fair. You weren't voted to do that. You're an elected official. Whether you personally agree with it or not, you should be listening to the public who elected you. That's all. Thank you.
Kathy.
Hello, my name's Daniel Neal. Once again, I'm here asking for Flock to be added to the agenda of an upcoming meeting because, as we have seen, pretty much every 2 weeks, we have more people here asking the same questions, presenting the same problems, asking for the same solutions. The only people who tend to agree with Flock seem to be on this council. It seems like we continue to fill this room with more and more new people who have issues with this system that's been put in place. It's an Orwellian, dystopian system that monitors us everywhere we go in this town. There's 24 cameras. and it is not necessary for a community this size. And as far as it goes, the police chief has not really presented that many cases that it's been helpful in. He has presented one. I've heard the story like 3 different ways from him, but it doesn't seem like it does much, and it costs us about $100,000 a year. That, as many people have said, could be better served elsewhere. I don't understand why this issue seems to get pushed aside so much, but I've been here since the beginning of the year asking about it, as has Mike Lucitra, as has Brenda, as has Jamie, and the numbers have just grown. More and more people show up every week talking about this same issue, and it needs to be addressed. As some people have said, we elected everyone here to represent the people, not to represent their own interests, and that needs to be addressed. Anyways, have a good day. Stay
Thank you.
safe.
Do you have any other comments out there?
Good evening, Council. Our name remain unidentified due to my rights under the California Brown Act. There's not much I can say that hasn't been said very well tonight against the flock camera system. The one thing that keeps coming up, it keeps getting asked is, why weren't we asked? Why wasn't there discussion prior to the acquisition? We had town halls, but the decision had already been made at that time. It was just like, we're going to be nice and give you some information about this system. It needs to be reconsidered seriously in view of its violation of our right to privacy. It's just that simple. If you don't believe in that, you don't need to be on the council. That's your job. This is the lowest level of government that there is in the country, and this is the first step to more stuff like this. If every city in California deleted their flock systems, it would send a very clear message to the rest of the world, at least the country anyway. And all I have to say is that I resent being surveilled every single day. We're all celebrities here because each and every one of you, I guarantee, had your picture taken 4 to 6 times coming and going to City Hall tonight. If you don't appreciate that, you need to speak up and do something about it. If it doesn't matter to you, you need to rethink what your philosophy of freedom really is. That's enough said on that. Something else that came up to my attention, and I got not a real surprise, but it just kind of hits me between the head, between the eyeballs when I see it verified. This was part of a short email question and answer between myself and Mr. Reed about the wastewater plant. All the river of sewage that runs under everybody all over town and then politely goes out to be dealt with. Think about what if that failed. Now you'd get a real appreciation for it. I ask what's happening with it since we were taxed more for it back in 2012, 14 years ago. We need the money. We need a $4 million fund, at least, in place so we could get bonding. It's gone all this time, nothing's happened. Well, let me see. Let's just tell you, I sent a copy to all you guys so you'd have it to read it on paper. Travis told me, you're correct in your assessment that the plant is in dire need of repair. The only reason we have not experienced a catastrophic failure, that means your toilets are backing up and it's not flowing through the sewer lines and getting processed, is because of the outstanding work of our staff. Here we go, quite literally. The facility is being held together with chewing gum and Band-Aids. Over the past several years, we have lost pumps, digester lids, clarifiers, sludge, and waste lines, and numerous other critical components. The primary reason construction has not started is funding. After all these years, we have a funding problem. We were told we could get bonding 14 years ago if we just come up with a few more $1 million. The last time I heard this brought up funding about this, we were told, I believe, that we had $40 million in the fund, but we don't have enough money to proceed forward. You guys need to have an agenda item about this. You need a demand presentation in front of the council and the public, and need to get this thing moving. It's just unacceptable to be at this point with the sewer plant. It would be really, I mean, catastrophic is the word, Travis. If it failed, it'd be a disaster, and we don't need to see that. And then just another connected issue, semi-disconnected issue, but not connected since we're talking about funding. If we don't have enough money to build a sewer plant, why do we go push for a tax so we could spend $20 million on a pool complex? Does that seem like that's out of balance here? Think about it.
Thanks, Mike. All right, looks like we have a caller. Caller, please go ahead. Caller, you're on. Please go ahead.
Let me turn down my computer. Hi, this is Mike Sanat. I haven't felt the need to call in on flock safety until now. In my mind, this is a non-negotiable with the city council. So I don't see any reason to have any public sessions. Just say no and be done with it. This is not going to change. The people aren't going to accept it. There's broad-based rejection of flock license plate readers across the country. It's probably an 80 or 90% no. Same thing with data centers. Same thing with surveillance using CAI and PAI. If you recall, I was the one that brought up a big stink over Placer AI, 5 years ago. I warned Councilman Blades not to do it, but Councilman Blades and Mayor Brune wouldn't listen. They thought it was great. So you have to look at these people, Ron Strand, Kyle Blades, Eric Brune, Solomon Rajaratnam, Scott Heyman. They don't listen to you. They lie to you. They've been lying to you for 10 years about the groundwater. They've been lying to you by collecting fees for a wastewater treatment facility for 14 years that hasn't been built. They lie to you. They have personal financial interests. There was an article that just came out about the Small Business Administration canceling thousands of borrowers from the PPP loan during COVID. Guess who was writing those loans? Solomon Rajaratnam and Eric Brune at Desert Valleys Credit Union. Now, I don't know if any of their borrowers have been suspended, but I wouldn't be surprised. There was over 112,000 borrowers of PPP loans in the state of California alone that have been suspended. California is the most corrupt nation in the country, from hospice fraud to Medicare fraud to election fraud. And you better wake up, people. This is no different. Flock safety is fraud on the people. It's not helping. It's not going to help collect. It's not going to help collect criminals. One of the reasons 50501 doesn't like it is because they were sharing the information with ICE. ICE doesn't need license plates, but they can certainly capture some criminal aliens with that information. I would support it otherwise, but no. There's better ways. There's better ways. So tomorrow night, President Trump is going to address the nation. whether you like him or not, he's going to provide some evidence that will stun you about interference in the 2020 election. And it will trace back to Venezuela and the machines, and perhaps even the Chinese Communist Party. And while I'm speaking about the Chinese Communist Party, did you know that through birth tourism, they've generated 1 to 1.5 million birth babies that when they start turning 18 in a very short period of time, because they've been doing this for years, they will be returning to the United States as citizens. They will be indoctrinated while they're growing up until they're 18 years old. They will be coming into this country in droves. Do you want that? I don't think so. Do you want them taking jobs? I don't think so. So you better wake up, people. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sinat. All right, time to move on to council announcements and direction. Mr. Gorman, we'll just go down the line. Do you have anything?
Let me collect my agenda here. No. Sorry.
All right, no, that's okay, but thanks. Mr. Heyman? Mr. Roger Rotnam?
Yes, sir. I do have a couple of items. I want to thank the public. I mean, they have been bringing this to our notice for a long time, and with what happened at Los Angeles Police Department, it has again come to limelight. So, in view of the serious data privacy, security, and civil liberties concerns, mainly unregulated data sharing, security lapses, false positives that led to innocent drivers tracked and detained. I know these things have not happened here, but I want police department and the chief to take a look at our policy and our agreement to make sure there are no loopholes or any loose ends so that our public feels safe with our flock security. So thank you. And the other item I want to talk about is with the non-passage of Measure B, which was put on ballot to correct Councilman Blade's situation, I think we need to start looking into what options we have. I don't know how this is going to play out. I still feel that Councilman Blades deserves to serve his full 4-year term he was elected for. But in case there would be a vacancy for a term of 1 year, I would prefer a special election or leave that seat vacant for a year and not again nominating someone. It's not an option for us because it keeps on creating problems. So just wanted to put it out there so that the staff can plan in advance. And when the time comes, we don't want to say that we did not budget for a special election. We don't have time to go for that. So these things do happen, and there are special elections taking place all over California and all over the country. So that's not something which we cannot look into as an option. Thank you.
Thank you, Solomon. So the only comments I have is for Flock, actually. And so on the policy and contract section, I have been speaking with the chief and with a few of the other police officers and in conversation with the city manager. And I think that I share some of the same concerns that the LA City Council did. Now, LAPD took a pause. They didn't completely cancel. And I know they have their own license plates readers that are continually ongoing. There was one question about audits. Audits are happening. They're happening. I asked that question specifically of one of our detectives, like, are we making sure that the audits are there? Another is to make sure that vendor settings are where they should be. And right now, as a default, our settings are not set to share anything out of the state. That would have to require some major federal warrant, right? But I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not going to sit here and spew legal language at you, other than I have asked all those questions just to make sure, because I share some of the same concerns. I wouldn't say, in my opinion, and especially up here, we have a duty to make sure, keep the community safe. And there isn't some one single opinion on Flock or license plate readers in general at all. I could tell you that I do talk to people, and people are not going to want to come down here and be the people who come up there and say, yep, I believe in something. That's just not the way humans are. I've seen it for every year that I've been here, sitting in this seat. What we hear is, if people have something positive to say, they will quietly say it. It is very rare that somebody's going to come up to me and they'll talk to me personally, but they're not going to say it in public. And so that is our job, to listen and hear out the whole entire community. I know I do that, and I know that a lot of these guys do too, but I'm not going to speak for them. And some of those, say again? So we have. So we not only had one town hall, we had several, and they were definitely advertised ad nauseum. I even remember there being on the street, the police put out an electrical sign, come in here for Flock Town Hall. So we had town halls. We had open dialogue here on this dais. It wasn't like there are other communities that didn't do that, I know, but that's not what happened here. We had open dialogue. We addressed it. Now, I do appreciate all the concerns that are being brought up, because I do think that Flock was not completely transparent with some of the contract changes they started to make, and LAPD caught that. I like that. Luckily, not all of those clauses weren't changed. We had our contract before, so our data is not being sold, but they tried to change that in the LAPD contract. So be that as it may, I have some concerns. The new city manager has some concerns, and so does the current chief. And I know they are in active negotiation, working with Flock to make some changes. So I look forward to seeing what those are. All right, we will move on to the consent calendar. So all items listed on consent are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items may be approved by one motion if no member of the council wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired, the item can be removed from the consent calendar by a member of the council and will be considered listed in sequence. Does any member of the council have an item they want pulled? Okay, can I get a motion?
Can I make it? Kyle, can I?
Please inquire if there's any public comment on any of the items.
Yeah, hold on. Yep. Go ahead.
I just had a couple of quick corrections, if I may.
Sure.
On item 4, I listed it as certifying the June 3rd election. It's the June 2nd election, so on the reso, it will be reflected as June 2nd.
Okay.
And then on item 13, we added one more vehicle to that list. It's city vehicle number 275. It's a Chevy van that the ACO is getting rid of. So there'll be one more vehicle added to that list as well. And it'll be reflected on the reso.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And yes, thank you, Martin, for catching that. Any public comment for the consent calendar? Would you mind coming up, Mike, to make your comments?
Oh, yes. So as to item 3, consideration of resolutions related to the calling of the general municipal election. Since there's no information being provided that I can see, or maybe it's up there and I can't read it, what is the content of that resolution in general?
It's posted on the agenda.
Oh, well, I didn't get a copy of the whole thing. Similar thing on item 4. Can we just have it publicly stated what the vote result was on measures B and C? Since you don't care to comment, I will. Both of those went down by 54% no vote. Wasn't quite as well voted down as the first term limits law, which was like 70-something%, but it was a healthy beat down of the attempt to do something that didn't need to be done, especially when it was written applied to the city of Fillmore, California, no less. That's just kind of laughable to think that that was left there. The collect sewer fees, apparently if I'm asking questions, nobody's going to answer it. So just invite people to look in the full packet and see if they're going to raise your sewer fees or not. This, I don't recall being discussed in quite some time, so this got out here. Maybe I missed it. It slipped past really quick, and I wouldn't be surprised when I go dig into it to find out that they're raising the sewer fees. Or are they raising them? No? Well, that's good to hear. All right, thanks.
Yeah, what I will say, Mike, is we had a pretty lengthy presentation on the plant a couple of months ago at the infrastructure committee. We talked about it at length, but. All right. Any further comments from the council? There's already a motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
Please vote. 4 ayes, motion carries.
Okay, we are on to discussion and action items. Number 15, a resolution of the Ridgecrest City Council approving a 5-year transit development plan. Mr. Roberts, you're on deck.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you to approve the transit development plan, but first I'd like Kyle Taniguchi from Nelson Nygaard to give a presentation on the plan.
It's welcome. Thank you. Sir, please go ahead if you can hear us.
Yes, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Great. Thank you for sharing the slides. My name is Kyle Taniguchi. I am a senior associate at Nelson Nygaard. We are the consulting firm that was responsible for developing the transit development plan. We are currently under contract with the Kern Council of Governments to conduct the Ridgecrest plan along with several others in Kern County. Next slide. So for tonight's presentation, I'd like to give you just a brief overview of the project itself. We'll walk through some highlights of the existing conditions effort, talk about the recommendations, and finally close out with the implementation plan. Next slide. So the purpose of tonight's presentation is, again, to provide an overview of the Ridgecrest TDP, or Transit Development Plan. We're here to present the key findings and recommendations, and then answer any questions that you all may have. And at the end of the presentation, we would like to formally request adoption of the final report. Next slide. So I'd like to start off by talking about what is a TDP. It's a short-term 5-year horizon plan that's really constrained by cost and the finances of Ridgecrest Transit. Ultimately, it's intended to be a roadmap for improving transit within the community, and it is a requirement as part of the Transportation Development Plan Act to have your TDPs updated regularly. As I mentioned, we're conducting multiple TDPs in Kern County. The benefit of doing that is we're able to have a lot of conversations with different transit operators, and we're able to kind of see what are some of the recurring issues and themes and challenges throughout the county. And we've been able to identify several opportunities for more close regional coordination and collaboration as part of this plan. Next slide. So our approach with developing this plan is ultimately the TDP is going to be the city's document. And so we want that to be reflective of your community, your staff, your agency's needs and priorities. Again, this is a roadmap, how to improving transit within your community, but it can also serve as a justification for budgeting purposes as well as for submitting grant applications. Throughout this entire project, it was a very collaborative process. We had engaged with the public at 2 specific time points in the project, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. We, the consulting team, were there to provide an initial assessment of opportunities based on the data that we collected and received from the agency. And city staff were instrumental throughout the entire process. So they provided feedback on the recommendations we developed. They asked great questions, elevated concerns, and flagged things that they wanted to see included in the plan. Next slide. So I'd like to spend a few moments just talking about existing conditions. Next slide. Starting off with just orienting you with the Ridgecrest Transit Service. As you may know, Ridgecrest Transit operates 3 different services. There's the Dial-A-Ride service that operates within city limits for Ridgecrest. That's from 6:30 to 4:30 on weekdays. And that's depicted generally by the pink area on the map to the right. There's also special service to Randsburg and Johannesburg on Fridays. And so that's that little pink sliver that goes down the corridor to those 2 communities. And then there's a third service called the Inyokern route. And it's a deviated fixed route. It's the purplish colored line with dots on the map. And it runs between Inyokern and Ridgecrest. It's mostly on a fixed alignment. However, upon request, that service can deviate to pick up and drop off passengers. And that service provides 3 round trips on weekdays. There is no service on the weekends. And if anyone would like a ride, they have to call in advance. They can do so up to 7 days prior to the date of service. And you may be able to do a same-day trip, but that's not guaranteed and is available on a space-limited basis. I also want to point out that Ridgecrest Transit does have some regional service as well. So there's Eastern Sierra Transit Authority. That's that neon blue line you can see on the map. That service connects Inyokern to Bishop in the north and Lancaster and the Metrolink station in the south. There's also Kern Transit Service. That's the darkish blue line that goes from Ridgecrest and off the left side of the map. And that alignment serves Lake Isabella and Mojave, with transfers being available to Bakersfield in both of those locations. Next slide, please. So we talked about outreach briefly. We had 2 touch points with the public. The first phase of outreach happened last year. We had a public survey. We were out in the community, specifically on Ridgecrest Transit vehicles, talking with riders and getting their thoughts. We really wanted to understand what are the needs, opportunities, and challenges with transit in Ridgecrest. And we got some feedback from people who took the survey, and there was also some folks that provided their comment as well. Next slide. We also had a second round of outreach, and that took place earlier this year. We had a goal set to propose some recommendations and get feedback from the public on what they thought of those. We had a public survey and a virtual public meeting. Unfortunately, despite our best efforts advertising and telling riders in the community about the survey and the public meeting, we weren't able to engage and get any meaningful feedback. Next slide. So in terms of what's not working, this is an encapsulation of the existing conditions effort. One of the things, based on the feedback that we've gotten, or the lack thereof from the public, is it's really hard to draw any conclusions as to what kinds of service improvements might be necessary. And in our experience, sometimes that can just be that people are happy or satisfied with the service that's out there. So there aren't any service-related improvements that you'll see in the TDP. But I want to talk about the last 3 bullets. These were things that came up in conversations we had with Ridgecrest Transit staff. One of them being transitioning to zero-emission vehicles. There's a plan in place to incrementally procure new vehicles, and there were concerns about equipment and grid reliability. This is not unlike other communities in Kern County, and so this is an opportunity we'll talk about in just a little bit with coordination with other agencies. We also identified that there's potential communication or coordination gaps between Ridgecrest Transit and those 2 regional providers that we've identified. And then there's also staffing challenges associated with recruiting and certifying drivers, which we also touch on as a recommendation in this plan. Next slide. So I'd like to spend the next few moments talking about recommendations. Next slide. Within the TDP, there are 11 recommendations spanning 3 different categories. So capital, operations, and admin/policy. We won't have time to cover everything tonight, but we'll be able to kind of give you the highlights. There's a lot more information that's included in the final report. Again, as the consulting team, we were here to identify what are some of the issues, needs, and opportunities, and then the recommendations were kind of built around those items. The recommendations, again, were based on meetings that we've had with city staff, data that we collected early on in the project, general transportation best practices based on our knowledge with other communities, and then things that we've heard throughout Kern County that could either be potential coordination opportunities or things to be examined as part of this Ridgecrest TDP. So if we go to the next slide, I just want to give you some highlights here. Starting with the operations category, I think there's some real opportunities here to talk with other regional transit providers in Kern County. A lot of agencies are struggling with zero-emission vehicle maintenance and driver training. I think there's a lot of synergy here to try and put our heads together and try and figure out a solution that helps everyone in the county. From the admin and policy category, there's 2 things. One is customer communications and website. We've identified some low or no cost improvements related to dissemination of information, such as posting current transit route information on the website to make people aware of other options for transportation, and then developing a brochure that fully lists out all of the transportation options within and to get out of Ridgecrest. In terms of a zero-emission fleet resiliency plan, I just want to spend a moment talking about this. You have a pretty robust fleet transition plan. I think it's great. We'll talk about that in a second. But given the concerns about service reliability or vehicle reliability, we think it's prudent to develop a fleet resiliency plan. This can be a low-cost or in-house effort that's really intended to identify what are some of the pitfalls or potential issues that might arise with a new fleet composition and work to identify ways to mitigate or reduce that risk. Next slide, we'll talk about capital stuff. Again, you have a pretty good capital plan, so I think you just keep doing what you're doing. There was a need for training locally in Ridgecrest. That was one of the items of discussion during the meeting we had with city staff, and we think that it's a great idea and should be advanced forward as a concept. The fleet replacement program, no issues with that. I think that should be continued to be implemented, and there are plans in place as we speak. Next slide. As part of this project, we put together a financial plan to understand the cash flow situation for Ridgecrest Transit. And based on our assessment, we believe the transit agency has a pretty strong financial position. And we believe that with existing service levels, you should be able to continue to run or operate service for the 5-year horizon of the plan. The vehicle replacements that we talked about, we believe would be covered by grant revenue and existing reserve funds, so no issues there. I did want to point out that the training facility is not accounted for, just given the uncertainty around costs and it being a very early stage concept that needs further evaluation, design, and consideration of cost components. All the other recommendations that we've included in the plan either have low or no cost associated with them. Next slide. A lot more information included in the final report. There's summary tables of all the recommendations. There's detailed write-ups on why something was proposed, how it could be implemented. A lot of great information that if you haven't already, definitely check out. Next slide. I want to close by just talking briefly about the implementation plan. Next slide. So the final report includes a chapter on implementation. And again, it covers the 5 years of the plan. We recognize that things happen or things change, and so there is inherent flexibility with implementation. Things can be implemented sooner or later than we're suggesting. This is just something as a baseline to consider as far as what you should do first, second, third, and so on. Our philosophy on this is that TDPs are essentially like lists of projects or studies that need to be undertaken, and further conversation or study is going to be required for some of these items. The last point I want to emphasize is that there's no penalty associated with implementing a recommendation. If something happens where you have a conversation, it's deemed infeasible, or there's a fatal flaw with something that's analyzed or examined further, simply set it aside and move on to the next thing, because there's other things that can be tackled in the 5-year horizon of the plan. Next slide. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Taniguchi. So back to the council. Any questions?
I do. Kyle, thank you. You mentioned twice a training facility. Could you elaborate on that? I don't know of any training facility. Does it offer a certification for
maybe
a driver
Terry
to drive an electric
could
Yeah. We even have it in the budget for 27 to design a training yard where they can drive around, pull up curbs, pull up to back into, parking spots. So it's in the FY27 budget to start that design and construction. It'll be built right next to the Corp Yard, the Corp Yard on Ridgecrest Boulevard.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
right now it's a drawing more than on a paper napkin, but it's not much farther than that.
Thank you.
Mr. Heyman?
Not at this moment.
Yes. In the report provided, under the key takeaways, you mentioned span of service is limited and frequency is limited too. So do we see a need for increasing the span of service and the frequency?
To the weekends or?
Both weekends and weekdays, I think. Span of service only operates on weekdays from 6:45 to 4:30. And there is no weekend service, so is there a need for a weekend service?
We've looked into it. We've had one person ask for a weekend service. The cost involved would be maybe at least $2,000 a week. For one person to ask for that.
So it doesn't probably work out cost-wise.
Right. Even regarding the cooling center, we looked at extending the hours into the evening. And again, there's a significant cost, and we don't think the use would be that very great.
Okay. Also in the report, there is a comment on veterans. The nearest Veteran Affairs Hospital is in Bakersfield, which could be difficult to access due to the lack of direct transit. So how are we going to address that?
I have not looked at that item yet.
I could speak to that. So getting back to the current transit service, this was one of the things that came up as part of our existing conditions assessment, and kind of going back to the customer communications and website item or recommendation. There currently is a connection between Ridgecrest and Bakersfield, but it requires either a transfer in Lake Isabella or Mojave to get there. So options do exist, but we just need to make the public aware of those. So that would directly address that gap that we identified.
Okay, thank you. Last question on the finance. So on the funding side, are any of the Measure V funds used for this project?
No, that's not Measure V, it's other funding.
Okay, thank you.
For TDA, the TDA, Transit Development, yeah.
And so Terry, my only question right now is, are you having trouble, it was identified as a risk in the slide presentation, I'm aware, about maintenance with the zero efficiency. Are we having issues with that?
Not issues yet, because we just barely got them. We are looking into getting our fleet people trained on them. Finding a good course is hard, so as part of Kyle's work, we were talking with Kern, can they, do a study for the whole county and say, okay, we recommend this class for everybody with zero-emission vehicles.
Thank you. Mr. Reed, is that something you're tracking?
Yes, sir. This started back before Terry took over. I think I spoke with Kyle's team before Terry was here when we did a lot of this work. And it was when we were having the issues with the first electric bus we have. And one of the things we started doing is we made sure now that the buses that we are buying are a factory chassis with factory items in them. So that way they will have a warranty for at least the first 5 years, which would give us the ability and the time to be able to get the training we need. And I don't necessarily know that it's the ability to get the training, it's the ability to find quality training. We haven't found any that really speak to the level and the technicalities of certain items with it being electrified almost all over the place, right? So you have to have special hooks to pull wires, and so there's a lot of unknowns associated with it that we're trying to look into and find.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that you communicate with all the other city managers across Kern County. This is an enormous county, so none of these transit issues are going to be easy. But when it comes to maintenance, I just didn't know if you guys are brainstorming and coming up with something. But that's not. I don't ask you to look into your crystal ball. I just want to make sure it's on your radar.
It is. Thank you, sir.
Cool. Thank you. Sir?
A question. So one of my concerns early on moving to zero emission vehicles was the cost of doing business in that realm with the vehicles and maintenance of them. And so I understand that we're in a good financial position for the next 5 years, but in those vehicles, you mentioned like a 5-year warranty. And then so have we kind of looked past the 5-year point on what it's going to cost when those vehicles start needing new batteries and new parts? Are the grants and monies available out in the state? Do we know if they have covered those already in other communities? And then, and how that correlates back to the total cost per ride, like you mentioned before, that there's a cost of, $2,000, for one ride, and how that, parlays over into the total cost of, the number of usages and rides, participants, and the total cost of the plan itself.
Would you like me to speak on that? So every year, California rolls out new zero-emission programs. We currently have 3 that we track and utilize routinely. We have our CMAQ portion, we have our 5311 portion, we have our low-carbon transit LC Top operations program. We have our LC Top, you have TIRCP. So there's tons of new programs that are coming out to get us towards these zero emissions. I believe it was in 2022. Kyle, is that right, when we get past the zero emissions plan? 21, 22, if I remember right?
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact date, but that sounds about right.
So that was when California basically came out and said you have to make a commitment to get to zero emission. So we've taken that very seriously. We've got a grant where we're getting 4 buses. We've actually looked at with how we're operating our transit as more of a, for lack of a better term, sorry, I just did that to him. I never look in the mic because I'm always looking at you guys and then I scream. For lack of a better term, it's more of a glorified taxi service. And we don't routinely have the 20 people on a bus like we did when we ran lines going up to the college and things like that. So we've actually downsized the size of the fleet. So they're smaller vehicles, less maintenance. And with that, we have the ability to get an extra or 2 extras. So that way we'll just keep a few of the larger ones for events like when we did the 4th of July to run people. And the service will have some extra ones. So that way we have the time and the ability to work on these as issues come up.
Then the other question I had was the transit service that runs from the north, from Bishop down and from Ridgecrest or Inyo Kern to Lancaster, and the routes, times that they have, and correlating with that, is there much demand on the weekends or?
I don't believe we have data on that, but we did identify an opportunity to coordinate schedules. So that was something we brought up with Ridgecrest Transit staff. So we are able to make the existing schedule on weekdays work for people that want to get to or from Eno Kern to make that Eastern Sierra Transit connection.
Yeah, I would see that as an important aspect of it, but okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
I think the only other additional thing I want to point out, Terry or Kyle, is to make sure that we're coordinating our schedule with the Kern River Valley. Because there was an issue with people from Isabella, Kernville being able to get over here. And it actually coincided with court dates. And so that's something we want to make sure we're paying attention to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up.
Of course. All right, we can move on to public comment on this item. Is there anybody in the public who has any comments? Okay, I will, seeing none, hearing none, bring it back to the council. Anything further?
No, thank you, Terry, for your work on this, and
It's a good
I think it's
report.
vital to the community, so. I'd like to see
Yeah, I think the plan presents well. I appreciate the work, Kyle and Terry. Thank you. Okay, so I ask for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Please vote. We have 4 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Terry.
Yep, thanks, Terry. All right, we are on to number 16, declaration of surplus vehicle and authorization to sell a surplus communications vehicle to the Sierra Amateur Radio Club of the High Mojave. Is this you, Sergeant?
Yes, sir.
All right, the floor is yours.
Good evening.
Good evening.
On the surplus vehicles that the city is getting rid of, at staff's direction. This vehicle came up in our inventory that we've had for quite some time. And when we were going through them and looking at it, we realized that it still had the radios in it that is used with the local club that it helps for emergencies. They're still active with us, they still train with us, they meet with us. And discussing with it, they were interested in securing this vehicle to maintain with their current radios. So we came up with the agreement here that we would sell the vehicle to them for the high amount of $1. And that they would take over that vehicle, absorb the city of all the risk and liability, and still be able to maintain and use it. They like to do a lot of drills. I don't know if you guys saw them out here at the 4th of July event. They came out here and were practicing, trying to stay ready, and this would be a piece of equipment that could help them do it. And at this time, it's costing us too much, and we don't have a service need for it. So prepare to report and bring it up to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Back to the council. Skip?
I was glad to see them at the 4th of July festivities and visited with them. I'm interested in what they do. Hams, as we call them, become very valuable, life-saving actually, during periods of emergency, earthquakes, floods, what have you. And that's what they're proud of doing mostly. And I observed from the time I was very young and becoming interested in becoming a ham, back then you had to put your stuff together yourself mostly out of Heathkit modules, and you had to know the Morse code, and the tests were daunting. Now, the instruments that are used are small, don't take much power, fairly inexpensive, and you have to pass at least one test to become a ham, and I'm getting excited about doing it. Is this the group that meets every second Monday in the USO building, do you know? Yes. Somebody said yes. Hot dog. I'm going to start. Good. Say that again. 7 p.m. second Tuesday, or excuse me, second Monday 7 p.m., second Monday of each month in the USO building. My friend, thank you. Expect to see me there. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Mr. Heyman?
I think if it would assist the radio club, I'm all in favor of this.
Yeah, makes sense. Mr. Roger Rotner?
Thanks for the presentation. I think it's a good move, so I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, I appreciate the staff recommendation. I can't speak highly enough of the Amateur Radio Club. They do so much for this community that it goes unseen normally, especially in times of emergency. They are doing a lot of work, and I appreciate there being such an active group, such as the Amateur Club here in Ridgecrest. So I appreciate the recommendation. I think this is a very good move. Thank you. Over to the public. Any comments on this item? Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I would entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Please vote. Four ayes, motion carries.
Thank you, Sergeant Lloyd.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we are on to item number 17, discussions regarding needed appointments to council committees, boards, and commissioners. Charlotte, Ms. Charlotte,
Ms.
you
Charlotte.
are listed.
I'm going to hold 1 second and let Mr. Rajaratnam have something to say, I believe.
We have a vacancy on the planning commission.
So, Mr. Rajaratnam, I was going to present the item. I didn't know if, were you going to recuse yourself from this item?
Yes, I'm going to recuse
Yes,
myself.
so if you could, please, I'm sorry, that's what I was waiting for you to do. Thank you, sir.
Well, we still
Just
have
for
a-
the record, the reason for recusal is that they do work together, even though there is not a actual conflict under the law. In order to feel comfortable about this, council member decided to step down for this item.
Thank you for the clarification.
Fair enough.
So at this time, we do have a vacancy on the Planning Commission, and we have a nomination on the floor for Mr. Bruin to fill that seat. I turn that over to the three of you to discuss, and it is just an appointment. There's no resolution or anything that's needed on this. We just have to have you guys discuss and approve the appointment. So I open it up to you guys for discussion.
Well, so, I mean, he knows a lot about the city. So, over to you, Skip.
A question.
Sure.
A question. Thank you. Is this, how long is the term of a planning commissioner, and is this a full-term appointment?
I'm going to go ahead and let Mr.
Thank
The
you.
attorney handle it,
This
Mr. Cousins.
this appointment, the terms of planning commissions, I believe, are 2 years for our city?
They are the term of the council member generally. Yeah, because they're appointed by the council
By the
member and they
council,
sit
they're-
there as,
That's right, thank you.
Yes.
The appointment will be to fill the vacancy, so however long that vacancy was.
So I believe it is 2 more
going to be
years
open
for-
for. That appointment is to fill that vacancy. That term will end whenever it originally was meant to be ended.
But they can be, so Skip, the way it's traditionally worked here is, so if it is, sometimes they change out with the council member that's elected or re-elected, whatever it may be, but you can continue that planning commissioner as long as they're appointed by that council member can remain in that seat.
so like in this case, Mr. Rajaratnam is nominating him. When he's up for reelection in '28, the person that wins his seat could just ask Mr. Bruin if he wanted to continue. It's not an automatic, but it can be asked. That's what I mean by ask, yeah, reappointed.
Yep. Just an ask.
Thank you. I may have other questions. My friend, did you have something?
I just want to say that Eric Bruin, having been the mayor and involved on the, with the committees, being a business person in town, I think his understanding of, and his knowledge pertaining to the planning commission is very worthwhile to the community. So I personally would be in favor of and being on the planning commission, I think he'd be a great choice for it.
Thank you. Do we need to take public comment?
Yes, please.
Martin? Okay. Lindsay?
I observe, oh, I'm sorry, Lindsay, I'm sorry, this won't take but a minute.
Go ahead.
I observed that my wife Denise would be interested in getting onto the Planning Commission, yet I have to worry about the extent to which I'm a bit closer to Denise than, let's say, Solomon is to Eric. And that banned him from the room. It would ban me from the city, I suppose. But it's been done. And trouble is, my term is up in a few months. So anybody I would put in that slot would be subject to get changed over afterwards. So for that reason, I'll just make the mention that Denise is interested in one of these days being on the Planning Commission. And there I've said it. Denise, did you get that? Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Lindsay, go ahead.
Well, so him recusing himself does not fix the problem because it's his planning commissioner nomination. If it was any of your others' planning commission nominations, then that would make sense for him to recuse himself. But since it's actually his planning commissioner, I believe that you are still in violation of the Political Reform Act under Code 87103. It's a source of income trigger violation. I also believe that under Section 1090, the strict anti-kickback rules would apply here. I think Solomon would be remiss to appoint his boss to Planning Commission, even if he's not voting on it, it's still his nomination. I think there's plenty of other people. Skip just named his wife. I think there's some other people that would be interested in serving on Planning Commission. If someone else steps down and then they choose to nominate Eric, fine, and Solomon recuses himself from voting, but this is blurring the lines and it's unethical. It's not okay. I don't care if he left the room, it's his planning commissioner, and it's not okay, it's his boss, okay? It was a problem also when Solomon was under him when Bruin was mayor. So this needs to stop, okay? You need to, don't blur the lines. Thank you.
Yeah, so it needs to be said that Solomon has served beyond reproach. He has had immense integrity the entire time he's been up here. The fact that he stepped out and he really didn't have to, I think shows a lot about him. And I know, yep, Lindsay, got it.
It is a violation of the law.
Over to the lawyer. The lawyer with a law degree. Okay. Lindsay, enough.
There's no conflict of interest for Mr. Rajan Radhan to participate.
Thank you. Yes.
Person yet unnamed under rights under the Brown Act. I'm opposed to Eric Bruin being in any office in this city hall. I'll name a few reasons. The very first night being mayor, he took pains to read this little fairy tale-ish little diatribe saying he wasn't going to listen to a certain member of the public. It doesn't matter if it was me. I wouldn't care if it was the worst citizen by appearance or conduct in this city for a representative of the city to sit up here and say, I will refuse to listen to anything that person has to say, immediately disqualifies them from representation to this council, period. He did it. He was elected. You're not going to kick him out. He felt free to go on with his other agendas, one of which was institute parties regularly on the streets of Boston, up here in the parking lots. Where does it say that government is supposed to provide us parties for our entertainment? About $10,000 cost to us for every party, and all it was just one other opportunity for somebody to come around and get to drink wine and beer out in public, wander around, because they're within these falsely set boundaries. How about the pool? I already mentioned that once. That was explicitly advertised as a $9 million rebuild of the pool. Soon as the vote got put in to get more tax levied on our heads, it went up to 14, then it went to 17, and now I believe it's sitting at 20 or somewhere around there. I don't have to be exact. So where was the con job on that one? And that was led from day one by Eric Bruin. As far as I'm concerned, and I know you guys don't care, I'm opposed to his nomination to any seat in this city office.
Just quickly, I guess, how many people sit on the planning commission?
Yeah, 5.
There's 5. And the vacancy has been vacant for how long?
I don't know how long it's been. I'm not quite sure. It was whatever Solomon's appointment was before. They must have stepped down.
Oh, it's just a month? Who was it previously?
It was Mr. Percyfield?
Okay, so he left. I was just wondering the timeliness of doing this, and although the lawyer said there isn't any conflict, the appearance of it, people are going to take that differently. And having somebody appoint that he's your boss, et cetera, it just doesn't look right. I don't care how you slice it. What people feel is that it's not appropriate.
Sure.
So,
Thank you,
anyway,
Kathy.
thank you.
Yeah, I'm not, I don't, Solomon made the decision. I'm not in his mind. I don't know why he wanted to make that appointment. But I am going to reiterate, I have not seen one thing that Solomon's ever done up here. Like, he has always had immense integrity. I would wager his decision is based on the fact that I do not know anybody save people that are up here or the city staff that know as much about how a city works as Mayor Bruin. And so I would imagine that's why he made the decision, but I don't know. So over to, back to the council.
If I may?
Yes.
I would just like to say, as far as finding someone else to sit on that committee, I myself have run many ads in the Daily Independent looking for people for them to fill these committees, and nobody turns in applications. So it's very hard to find people to fill these committees, I'm just letting you know. So although there might be some people here that might raise their hand right now, we do advertise because they have a hard time finding people, and I put an ad in the paper and we get nothing. So it is very difficult, just so you know. This isn't an easy decision for Mr. Rajaratnam, if that's where it landed with him also. So I just want to say that.
Thank you.
Contact me and I can get you a citizen service application. I'm happy to do it. And then we can start having a list for future applications or for future nominations, for sure. I'm happy to do it. But you'd be surprised how very little people step up.
Thank you, Rika. Okay, I would entertain a motion.
So I was going to say, Mayor Bruin is, ex-Mayor Bruin had, he's done a lot of good things for the community. I've heard, there may be some personal differences with him. As a member of the Planning Commission, he'd be one of 5. That committee comes to conclusions on their own. So I don't see an issue there. I think we're passing up an opportunity to have somebody who genuinely cares about the city, knows how the Planning Commission and the committees and the levels of government that how we operate within the city. I think we're doing a disservice by not taking advantage of someone who's willing to give to the community. I know a lot of people, we hear the negative comments, but I can tell you there's far more positive attributes here than the negatives by far. So if it is not, everyone has the concern of it being a legal conflict of interest, but if legal counsel, who is what we take into consideration when we make decisions, it's not a conflict of interest, then I'm still in favor of Mayor Bruin being eligible for or nominated for that Planning Commission position.
I'll jump in and ditto. When I was little, The only president of the United States I could imagine is Dwight Eisenhower. The only pope, Pope Pius XII. When I got into city council, Eric, a very kinetic individual, took the time to help me settle in, and I sincerely appreciated it. And each meeting, I was continually blown away by his background and what he knew about the city, and the extent to which he had his hands on the reins and was able to set directions. I find him a very impressive person. I'd be interested in seeing how he does and what he gets done as part of the Planning Commission, an outfit that often is very quiet and shy, but sometimes stands forth at exactly the right time and does the right thing. So I'd approve of this. I approve of Eric. Thank you.
Is that a motion?
You're right.
I move then for,
Yeah, just to make the appointment.
Make the appointment?
to make the appointment.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, and Mr. Blades, you feel the same? We have a consensus?
We have a consensus.
We are good. Okay, thank you. We can get Mr. Rajaratnam back in.
Okay,
Thank you,
we will-
Terry.
We will move on to number 18, discussion regarding the Board of the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority. Mr. Heyman, take it away.
All right, let me pull my, okay. Let's see, get organized here. Thank you, sir. So the Groundwater Authority did meet last Wednesday. I believe that was on July 8th. We had a pretty simple one primary agenda item on the agenda, and that was the comprehensive groundwater adjudication Phase 2 summary. I think many of you know where they just completed the expert testimony on both sides for the safe yield trial, what's called the Phase 2 trial. And so what I'd like to do is just kind of give you a brief overview, summary of that trial. And so, so after taking evidence and hearing several days of testimony from expert hydrogeologists and groundwater modelers, the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Basin Adjudication Court has concluded that it will appoint an independent groundwater expert called a special master to assist the court in the review of the complex scientific evidence. So initially, the court sided with the Indian Wells Valley Water District, Searles Valley Mineral, and Meadowbrook Dairies, which are considered, you'll hear the term, large pumpers. He initially sided with their opposition to the appointment of an independent expert to assist the court. However, after some pointed questioning of experts for the large pumpers and expert testimony of fatal flaws in the larger pumpers analysis, the court concluded that an independent expert review assistant was necessary to ensure the court's decision is based on a thorough evaluation of the scientific evidence. During this phase, the court is tasked with the incredibly important duty of determining the Indian Wells Valley groundwater basin's safe yield. While there are some nuanced differences, safe yield is the functional equivalent of what the Sustainability or the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA, calls sustainable yield. And both generally refer to the volume of water that can be withdrawn from the basin each year without causing harms such as worsening water quality and the loss of wells due to declining groundwater levels. Importantly, these yields cannot exceed the basin's historical average annual recharge, the amount of water that naturally replenishes the groundwater supply each year. They may even be lower if the court's determination accounts for water that is naturally used by plants and other environmental processes, a process known as evapotranspiration. It's basically the amount of H2 or water that is absorbed into the atmosphere from plant life and from the ground itself. Experts for the United States Navy use two sophisticated 3D groundwater models to estimate the basin's safe yield is 7,650 acre-feet a year. The Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority adopted this estimate for use in its 2020 Groundwater Sustainability Plan, which the California Department of Water Resources approved. I'd like to add to that, too, we were one of just a few basins in the state of California where there's approximately 80 basins that was approved, and found it to be based on the best available science. During the trial, independent experts for the Navy and the authority both testified in support of the 7,650 acre-feet estimate, while the large pumpers advanced several higher safe yield estimates. A hydrogeologist for the Water District presented an estimate as high as 18,200 acre-feet. But the large pumpers' principal trial estimates clustered around 14.3 to 15.4. That's where they kind of settled on their estimate of the safe yield, which testimony revealed to be roughly 170% higher than the average estimates of 15 studies since 1989. In the coming weeks, the parties will draft their closing trial briefs, and the court will ask the California State Water Resources Control Board for a list of qualified experts to act as a special master. I'll clarify that. The special master is going to be an independent individual that's based in science and review, and will assist the judge with the complex data that the judge is asking for more clarity with. An obvious focus of closing briefs will be several courtroom exchanges that drew considerable consideration or attention. Early on, the Water District called Timothy Parker, a hydrogeologist with a Bachelor of Science degree from UC Davis. Mr. Parker testified that he has worked for the Water District for nearly 15 years on groundwater supply issues. Mr. Parker was the lead coordinator of the technical working group formed by the large pumpers to support their litigation efforts, and his firm developed the Water District's groundwater model that was in turn used by all the large pumpers. During cross-examination, questions arose regarding Mr. Parker's groundwater modeling qualifications, and after he acknowledged that he was not a modeler and could not fully explain certain empirical modeling techniques, Judge Claster struck Mr. Parker's groundwater testimony completely in its entirety. Another notable moment occurred during the testimony of Dr. Matthew Tonkin, groundwater modeler hired to testify for the large pumpers after Mr. Parker's firm had developed the Water District's groundwater model. The large pumpers' safe yield calculation relies heavily on a 10-year period, 2014 through 2023. That included 2 of the wettest years on record for the basin. During cross-examination, Dr. Tonkin was handed a calculator and asked to perform the same safe yield calculation using a longer 25-year period. So to kind of clarify that for you, there's a chart that we have seen at the GA and many others, and both parties, the large pumpers and the GA itself. But it's like an 80-year time span, and it's a yearly graph showing the amount of precipitation that has been recorded for that year. So it's a bar graph with lots of highs and lows, and so with that, when you look at it and you look at a pattern of decades, you can see where droughts and the bar graph is lower, and in wet years the bar graph is higher. You can see periods where there's like 2 or 3 years of drought, so it's a 2 or 3 year lower graph on the bar, or bar on the graph. And then you can see the wetter years where there might be 2 or 3 years. So what they had done is they had taken this chunk, which happened to be the wettest years, to use as their data to put into their model. So just so everyone's kind of clear on that. And so the judge asked them to take a 25-year, take a bigger section, include the highs and the lows, and take an average, which would be, I think, a reasonable thing that you would want to do. So after completing the calculation, Dr. Tonkin acknowledged that the large pumpers' estimated safe yield analysis dropped dramatically from more than 14,000 acre-feet down to roughly about 8,000 acre-feet. The impacts of the large pumpers' base period selection resurfaced in their next witness, hydrogeologist Eddie Teasdale. Mr. Teasdale testified that the historical period used by the large pumpers had been selected before the safe yield calculations were performed. However, during cross-examination, attorneys introduced an internal email in which Teasdale wrote to an attorney for the large pumpers. Quote, "We'll see how this base period safe yield value compares with 2016 to 2021 and can share preliminary results with you next week," end of quote. When Teasdale testified that he did not compare different time periods before selecting the final base period, Judge Claster directly questioned the apparent inconsistency, asking, "So what does that word compare mean in the email, if not that?" The exchange underscored the court's interest in understanding how the historical period had been selected by the large pumpers and how that base period selection impacted their underlying calculations and analysis, which Dr. Tonkin testified could nearly double the large pumpers' estimate of the safe yield. In another dramatic twist, Mr. Teasdale's testimony was further impeached when he was confronted with a prior comment letter wherein he asserted that a groundwater model, such as the one used by the Navy, would be the most robust tool to determine safe yield. Mr. Teasdale also asserted that the basin's historic recharge estimates should be bookended between 4,100 and 7,700 acre feet per year. So the last witness to testify was the United States Navy's expert, Dr. Sean McKenna, an expert with nearly 40 years of experience in groundwater research and modeling who had authored approximately 100 peer-reviewed publications. Dr. McKenna testified that the Navy's estimate of 7,650 feet per year was supported by two well-calibrated 3D groundwater models. In contrast, Dr. McKenna testified that the Water District's Parker model simulates a non-existent wet lake covering roughly 20 square miles. So we know that that doesn't exist here. We don't have a 20 square mile lake sitting on China Lake. Dr. McKenna further testified that the non-existent wet lake was a fatal flaw in the Water District's Parker model, stating that it indicated the model was being manipulated by forcing physical, impossible amounts of recharge into the basin. This testimony was consistent with an earlier concession made during cross-examination by Dr. Tonkin, who acknowledged that the model simulated groundwater levels in the Rose Valley area more than 1,000 feet above the land surface. He agreed that if these model results were accurate, drilling a well in that location would produce a 1,000-foot geyser, an outcome that illustrates the physically unrealistic nature of the model's predictions. In the coming weeks, the court will appoint the special master, and the special master's review period will begin. Given the volume of evidence and the complexity of the scientific issues, the special master's review is expected to take several months before the court issues its long-awaited ruling, a decision that will play a critical role in shaping the future management of the groundwater resources in the Indian Wells Valley. So the trial is continuing to proceed, and the evidence is before the courts. And so that was kind of an overview of some of the highlights of the Safe Yield trial. So with that, I'll bring it back to the council if you have any questions or comments.
No questions from me. Anything from the rest of the council? No. Anything from the public?
Kathy Russell again. I just wanted to clarify, you were mentioning about the models, but I also heard during the adjudication that the GA's model was missing. They did not have a credible model. And I heard that they did not have a model. They could not produce their model. That was displayed in the
That the GA's model is missing?
Yes.
That is an incorrect rumor or topic that's going around. The Desert Research Institute, that was doing the modeling, they had a first model, and then the second model, and then the third model, which has all been that's played a part.
I'll go back and look at the recourse, but I'll go back and look at the transcripts, but I thought they had
So if you'd like-
admitted it was missing.
I would welcome you to, maybe come to the GA meeting and present that question. You could have it,
I'll do that,
the
yeah.
modelers could, explain it in more detail, but there's, that's inconsistent.
Okay, I'll go back and look at the transcripts.
Okay.
Thanks.
Again, unnamed individual. So I've been doing this for a while. I've been listening to people's reports, claims of studies. making statements. I just had to wonder, how many tens of hours of the GA staff time did it take to write what you just presented to us, Mr. Heyman? That was well done. I guarantee you it cost us, everybody in this room, a lot more money for the staff to put that, it comes across basically as we're going to go after the water district and their hydrologists and we're going to nail them to the wall. Well, that's fine. And denying that the Navy's model disappeared is a little hard to do, since within the first few days of the trial, I read the statements, the transcripts of what was going on, and that's what happened. It's like, I read that and I just thought, they had no model. It's been brought right out, and yet they're going on chasing it. I guess all that really doesn't matter now. The special master and the judge are going to be, get to it, and everybody's had their day in court. So all I could say is, I trust when truthful, diligent study of the whole matter has been done, that it's going to come out that the GA, the number that was always stated by the GA before they ever did any work themselves at all, the day one of the first meeting down here, there was 7650. That's the recharge. That's been the gold number that never was deviated from, which justifies building of a $350 million pipeline that's going to cost us an arm and a leg from now to eternity. And that's it. They're like a bulldog. At least I give it to them. They've hung on through all these 8 years or more of pushing the propaganda they've been pushing on us. And I just hope to see that truth prevails and the whole thing goes down and we can get back to a life where we can enjoy conservative use of water with the supply that we've got, without being all of us bankrupted by the effort to bring in outside water, which we yet have to buy 1 single acre foot of right to this day. What's supposed to happen then? You build a pipeline, don't get any water to put in it. But you're charging ahead, and we'll see where it gets.
Looks like we have public comment on the line. Please go ahead. Go ahead, caller, you're up.
Thank you. I'll be really fast because I'm going to lose power in my battery on my phone, which will make you all happy. Don't believe a word Councilman Heyman is saying. Not a word. Don't waste your time. No, they didn't have a model. They couldn't find the model. It got lost. There's no way the Navy and DRI lost the model. Someday maybe we'll find out what happened to it. As for Dr. McKenna, his credentials were entirely overstated. He was a hired gun from University of Nevada, Reno. He stepped foot in this valley for 3 days or 3 visits. He didn't know a thing about groundwater modeling in California. He pretended to know everything, Professor McKenna, pretended to know everything about groundwater modeling. If you look at his history, it doesn't look to me like he's ever worked in groundwater modeling. He's done some modeling, but the model was pegged as the reason for the 7650. They reverse engineered it so that the number never changed. The difference between the Groundwater Authority and the Technical Working Group was methodology. And the methodology of the Groundwater Authority was using what's called the recharge method. The Technical Working Group was using the methodology of groundwater in storage, which is a physical measurement, actual data. The recharge method is a bunch of fluff and statistics and reasonable expectations. And I think Dr. McKenna used the term reasonable probably 20 times during the course of the trial. And I'm probably the only one besides the attorneys that listened to all 10 days of that trial. So that, my opinion, the safe yield in the Indian Wells Valley Basin is at least 14,300 acre feet, maybe as high as 15,400 acre feet. There were two other experts that weren't mentioned for the technical working group. Lauren Wicks was one of them, and she was phenomenal. And so was Timothy Parker. And so people, don't worry about what Councilman Heyman is telling you or the PR release that you saw in the newspaper today. That was a very complex trial. And am I over?
No, you're still good. You have a few minutes, Mr. Sinat.
Okay, well, I'll wrap it up. I could go on, as you know, for a long time, but my battery's going to die. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mike. Any further conversation here on the council? Anything else from the public? Okay, we will move on to number 19. Consideration of authorization to file petition for intervenor status in the California Energy Commission Small Power Plant exemption proceeding for the proposed Inyokern Data Center project, docket number 26-SPP Echo-01. Mr. Reed, over to you, sir.
Good evening, council. Pursuant to your direction on the 3rd of June, staff and the city attorney's office have prepared our petition to become an intervenor for this project. This petition, if we choose to file it tonight, will be timely. It will put us in a position to where we can comment or be party to the full docket for the potential effects of both groundwater, the electrical infrastructure, future housing opportunities, economic development, and public infrastructure. This is not taking a position. This is simply getting you at the table so that way you can be party to testimony, you can see communications, and you can have more information than what is readily published. You can be in hearings for CEQA and things of that nature. The purpose of this status is to ensure that the city can remain engaged throughout the proceedings, receive all relevant studies and technical information. As we know, some of them are stricken right now due to some government codes, and preserve its ability to participate in the review process as this project moves forward. Approval of the position, like I said, just lets you be in workshops, hearings, evidentiary proceedings, review and comment on all the technical analysis and environmental documents. And ultimately, it preserves the city's standing throughout the process. What this does not do is constitute an approval of the project, constitute opposition to the project, or commit the city to supporting or contesting the project. This simply gives us a seat at the table and allows us to have items that maybe weren't considered. We spent considerable time on this. We are looking at, like I said, infrastructure, future infrastructure, electrical, greenhouse gas emissions, and any other items that may come before us as the studies are presented to us. And with that, I am open for any questions in relation to the matter or open to direction on the item.
No, I appreciate your work on it, but we'll go to the line. Mr. Gorman, do you have any comments? I'm just going on the line.
Thank you,
I can
Kyle.
switch up the order if you'd like.
Travis, can we, are we asking too much to want to receive ongoing detailed reports on all of our intervention activities as they occur?
I believe that is what this intervenor status will do. The only thing that I have seen that might pull us into closed session is if, with the trade secrets with SCE, that would get us into an NDA. Correct me if I'm wrong. Other than that, I believe we can have open communication about any reports that are uploaded or items. They should be public hearings and things of that will be broadcasted to the public.
I'm sorry to hear about the NDA. I thought we could dodge that. I don't want us to get involved in an NDA in any way.
And like I said, I can't guarantee that. I think that would be up to SCE with their government code provision, and if you know more about that, I would love your help.
No, our participation, if approved tonight by the council in intervening in this petition, entering or not entering into an NDA, non-disclosure agreement for those who, will be a decision the council will make, and failure to enter into it may preclude us from receiving some information, but it's not going to affect our intervener status.
So, individual, not me, of course, I won't sign an NDA, but you might. Is that what I'm hearing? And it would be a bracketed NDA to consist of only certain pieces of information.
We're asking the council tonight to approve us to intervene, file a petition on intervention. It may or may not get granted. Filing a petition is simply like filing a intervention into a lawsuit. If there are two parties that are arguing over something or have a lawsuit about something, and there's a third party whose interests are dependent on the outcome of that lawsuit, you file a complaint and intervention in court, and the court does or doesn't grant you the ability to become a party to this action. So your interests, so you can protect your interests, or your interests are heard and protected. This is an equivalent of that. We're not in court. We're before the CEC. It's an administrative hearing. If the petition is granted, we will be basically a city, not any one of us individually, but the city of Ridgecrest would be an intervener, a party in this hearing.
And Martin, would the California Energy Commission be the one granting the petition?
That is correct, yes. That's who we're applying to. And the NDA issue, if there is reports or information that are protected in some fashion that require execution of the NDA, and that would be on behalf of the city. And basically, under those circumstances, if the council wishes to see those reports, you would see them in closed session. There will not be a public document.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Skip, is that good? Mr. Heyman?
No comment.
Mr. Rajaratnam? I appreciate the work on the letter, and I am all for getting that intervener status applied for. I hope it's granted. I hope we can get as much transparency to this process as possible, because it may not be in our jurisdiction, but it is darn sure going to affect us. And so if we are, the way I look at this, and maybe I'm oversimplifying, but the way I look at this process is, this is our way of building up to, if we do choose to oppose, this is our way of building up to that process. So I appreciate the work thus far. This is it's a long process, and we'll see where it goes. But right now, let me turn it back to the public. Is there any public comment on this item?
Hi, I'm Kelly Cutts. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak tonight. I'm just curious as to, when are you going to file the letter? You've been working on the letter for a couple of months now, and I've mediated cases and facilitated settlement agreements in a couple of days, so I'm just wondering what's taking so long here.
It's the staff working on it, and then as soon as we get this applied, as soon as the council agrees on it tonight, should be mailed off within, right, soon?
Are you referring to the petition, or are you referring to some kind of a letter? I'm sorry.
My question is, you've been talking about submitting a request to the CEC for intervener status on the RV data center for a couple of months now, and I'm just wondering when that submission's going to happen.
As soon as if it is approved tonight by the council, we'll finalize the petition and get it filed shortly.
Yeah, it'll be short. It'll be shortly, within the next few days.
Shortly, within a few days?
Within the next few days, if we approve it tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hello, my name is Noah. I do apologize if this is a little bit off topic, but I'm here with I would say a big concern with the data center going through. I'm sure the sheer amount of blue shirts in the audience will show that there is concern about the groundwater usage with the data center, but I have something that might just be on that level. Military contributions. As we all know, and as was addressed earlier in this meeting, China Lake is we're the epicenter of aerial weaponry development and weapon testing in general. Heck, the monument outside shows we created the Sidewinder, the most commonly used missile in America. And it's not exactly a secret that this kind of data center is a huge sum of electricity just already on the board. And the airport in Inyokern suggests that air pollution could result in hindering aeronautical stuff and air traffic. Both of those put together, there is a very real risk, I believe, that the base could be impacted by this data center going up. And if that happens, there is a very real chance that military operation could be crippled. That epicenter for weapons development just grinding to a complete halt. And that's a big fear in the back of my head. You're free to agree or disagree with me. This is a council after all, but I do hope that this will be brought up whenever Mr. Reed does go through with when we're intervening or opposing. Because if this does go through, and I am right about this, this is more than just our way of life. This is all of America's way of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Noah. Do we have any further comments?
I just have one question here tonight. You said you're going to file that in a couple of days. My understanding is that July 17th is the deadline for us to make a comment to the California Energy Commission. So does that mean you'd have to file this like tomorrow probably? Or I don't want you to miss a date for the comments for the public. So I'm just wanting clarification on that.
So correct, the first filing by I believe they said was July 17th. That
Okay.
is if the document was deemed complete. So the CEC came back with further questions, which made us go back and look at our petition to intervene and make sure that we had incorporated all of our comments and concerns in the petition, so we would have our best shot of becoming an intervener.
Thank you for
So,
that,
and
Ann.
from our understanding,
Okay.
that extends the date. It's still timely because it hasn't been
That
deemed
sounds
complete.
good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other comments from the public? Anything else? Is there anybody on the phone? No? Okay. All right, any further comments from the council? Okay, I would entertain a motion to submit. Just direction. Well, I absolutely agree that we give direction to get this filed as soon as possible.
We have consensus on the direction.
We
Thank
have
you,
a, we
Council.
have a consensus. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Right, we are on from number 19, moved on to committee reports. Economic Development Committee. Right, we met, no, our next meeting's August 3rd. We have not met yet. So next meeting, August 3rd. And then the Finance Committee, report from July 14th. Mr. Heyman, is that you?
Yeah, did you say the quality of life?
Finance Committee?
Finance Committee, yes. So the finance.
Well, actually, if you, just one moment, we'll wait for
Okay.
any kind of shuffle. All right, thank you, Scott.
Okay, so yes, the Finance Committee did meet, and so primary topic was a revenue update and the fiscal year 26 third quarter report. So I'll just give you kind of a brief rundown. Sales tax numbers are at 75% of budget, so it's down just a little bit. The measure L and B was at 79%, right at 80 of the budget amount. Same with the measure P add-on was at 80%, or well, 79. And Next, we had the transient occupancy tax. That is at 98% of budgeted amount, so that one's looking really good. And next, we had the property taxes. County was kind of behind a bit, going through some changes on the county side, but they are back on track, and we are at, I believe it's like 114%, but, so we're sitting back on stable grounds with the county. We expected just that little bit that we're seeing down in the budget revenues, we expected with the wind down of the base reconstruction, but otherwise, things are solid on the revenues, so that's all I have.
Cool. Thank you, Scott. On to the Infrastructure Committee. So we did meet June the 25th. We discussed a couple of streets which we needed an update on. It wasn't a very long meeting. We also had on the agenda was to discuss the data center, but there was nobody from the public there. So we briefly talked about it amongst ourselves and then moved on. And then now on to the Parks and Rec Committee. I have some notes here, but it is your regular. I stood in for Mr. Endicott. He couldn't be there, so, but it is your regular meeting, Scott, so.
Well, we'll, yeah, you can chime in with me, but, so
Yes,
yeah,
sir,
we
go
did meet, flag football signups are ongoing right now, and they end in August, so if you know anyone that is interested in flag football, get them down to the city and get signed up. Primary topic was the senior center. We had county on the phone, or zoomed in on the meeting. There's discussion about getting meals to the seniors. Basically, in a nutshell, they have to do it themselves, and it has to be done within a certain time manner, up to 6 o'clock the morning of the date that they're going to get a meal, but preferably the day before. The senior has to call in, and there's been some issues where the seniors senior enough that they're not able to do that on their own, and so having someone else call in for them to get a meal isn't, it doesn't fall within the policy of Kern County. So we're trying to iron out, you know, how do we get seniors their meals and that there's no one left behind when it comes to that. So they are working on it right now. Narissa, the director for the Quality of Life, she's been on the phones with them, and Kyle was there for the meeting, chairing it in place of the mayor, who was unable to attend. So, and Kyle, do you want to add? Or
Yeah, the one thing I'll add is a big kudos to the staff. So not just Narissa, but also the city staff helping out, because they are going. They really care, like they genuinely, deeply care. And we do not have direct control or cognizance over the program, but right now we're sharing it with Kern County and trying to work together as best as possible. And that's never easy, because Kern County is in charge of, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but it was something like 6,000 meals a day.
Correct.
And so the county is trying to cover down on a lot. Of course, they're up, just like any government agency, you're up against policies and issues, but the county called in, their staff was on the phone. We were able to discuss a few things, hammer out some misconceptions about policy, and then also get good phone numbers for the public and for the city staff to be able to call the county and make sure that we understand exactly what's going on, because we all know that policies and regulations, we can get lost in those. So
Right.
let's try to come up with a common sense approach. So my hat is truly off to the city staff that is working their tail off to make sure the seniors are fed and the programs keep running.
Yep, I concur. I've made it a point to have the senior center on the agenda item each and every meeting that we have. It's very important. We need to take care of our seniors in the best way we can, and meals are important to them. Maybe the only decent, and it needs to be decent, let me clarify that, meal that they may get. And so it's an important item. We've taken it really seriously. The mayor, who's not here tonight, he's right there with it. The staff, Narissa and everyone in the Quality of Life department have done tremendous job. They're staying on top of it. We won't let it go. We're not going to sit back and let it lay idle. We're going to take care of the seniors. Overall, the senior center is going really well. The seniors they got to pick their times that they come. They come to our meetings. They're very participatory. We have a good crowd, and so they are very happy overall with the work that Narissa and the department has done to bring a better environment to the seniors at the senior center. So overall, it's good. I'm sure these issues are going to get worked out. We'll report back on,
Absolutely.
but,
It's just about that, keeping that collaborative relationship, which is
Yeah,
what we're trying to
so-
do. It's not, we just, like any committee, it's working well.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you guys' the ongoing work.
Yep.
Thank you,
So
Scott.
that's, let's see, that pretty much was the primary item. I don't see Narissa here. You were there too. Anything else that you can add on? I don't have anything else.
No, I think that sums it up.
Okay. Okay,
Cool.
that's it.
Other
Thank you.
committees, boards, and commissions, Mr. Gorman, I know you hold on to a few of those, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Kerncog has been dark this month, though I got a notice I'm pretty proud of, and I say good for Kerncog. It was in a facilitation background when Mr. Roberts gave his presentation, and Kyle talked on the back. And the Kern Council of Governments has been selected as the winner of the 2026 Outstanding Overall Achievement Medium MPO Award by the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations. This is a national honor. I'm very proud of them. I'm very proud of CEO Jay Schlosser. And this award will be officially presented to our Kerncog Thursday, September 17th during the annual awards conference in Sacramento. Good for you. Imagine I'm clapping. And with regard to other committees, that's it for me.
Thank you, Skip. Appreciate it. Okay. City manager report.
I do have a couple things for you guys tonight. I think it was the last council meeting on June 3rd or June 15th. We had a public comment asking about the potential of moving some transit hours so we could facilitate the movement of seniors to and from the cooling center. For about 3 weeks now, Narissa and her staff have been documenting how many people have actually used the cooling center. We've had a total of 2, both of which are fully mobile, full transportation. As Terry Roberts told you guys tonight, it would cost us about $2,000 a week. We would have to shift service going to overtime, and expanding service to that aid would drastically change the cost. But Terry provided me some data. We would basically lose the majority of when our bulk rides are. The majority of our rides are from 7 to 9. And then there's, depending on the day, depends on whether it's 3 or 4 in PM. So by shifting and moving schedules to accommodate that, I don't think is in the best interest of us for 2 people. We had a sign-up sheet at the senior center that Narissa's staff pushed to try to see how many people would utilize it. Not one person signed it. And if council did want to consider something like that, I would say it would probably be a better monetary decision for us to provide cab rides home if we so chose. So just some background so you can know we did do some homework on that. Second, Narissa opened bids for another project at Leroy Jackson Park. We're currently working through finding a little more funding for it to see what we can do to make those projects go. We have our comprehensive pool update coming on August 5th. Given some of the public comment tonight, I was wondering if you guys would like me to work on an update to council for the wastewater treatment plant. Get that on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
I'd like the end of August, early September, so I can get all my ducks in a row and we can be ready to go. So I will begin working on that. And lastly, some really, really good news. As you guys know, we've started on the Mahan project, phase 1, from Bowman to Dolphin. We were awarded the grant for the second phase of Mahan, which was supposed to be next fiscal year. We petitioned Kern Cog last week, and we got those monies moved up to this fiscal year. When we did the design of Mahan Street, Terry and his team and our chosen consultant, Wildan, we did the design for the full length of it. So all the plans are done. It's already been through right-of-way. It's been through all the grant hurdles. So it's a matter of going out to get our request for authorization, and we're hoping to bid that here in the next couple months. So we're hoping before the end of summer to be breaking ground on the second phase from Dolphin to Springer. So
Awesome.
good news.
Thank you.
That is fantastic news, Travis. So I commend you and everybody on that work. So everybody should be really happy to see that kind of work being done in the city next to Downs, project and Ward and some of these main arterials. That's a huge one to accomplish. So I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah, the other thing Terry's done a really good job of, when we applied for those RSTP funds, Terry's team developed 3 more grant applications that we actually put in and put through. They were approved, but they were deferred. And what we do is we typically like to have applications in and done, so that way if another region can't spend all their money and they pull it back into the RSTP pool, we have contingency projects that they can fund. So his team's doing a really good job of foreshadowing and making sure we have projects on the horizon, so we're always working, and if somebody's got money they're giving away, we're willing to take it.
Perfect.
So-
Well, thank you, Terry, for the great work, and we appreciate it greatly.
That is it.
All right, thank you. Any future agenda items? Mr. Gorman.
I do not, but I want to point out that not having an agenda item to offer here now at this moment doesn't lock us or preclude us, any of us, from later, tomorrow or the next day or the day after that, offering an agenda item to the next meeting. Does it, Rika? Hot dog. It doesn't. So there.
Would it still need a second person to?
Still need consensus, but.
Yeah, you still got to get someone to buddy up with you.
Ah, that's right.
Just work with
See,
your. just work with-
everything's complicated.
Just work with your city manager. Mr. Heyman?
Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight and participating in the meeting. Yeah, it's appreciated.
Mr. Roger Rotnam?
Just want to thank the city for a spectacular Independence Day celebration organized. Especially want to thank Brianna for taking the lead, and for the first time, it's a great event, I should say. Thank you.
I'll jump in on a comment. Solomon, I and others were at the 4th of July here at Freedom Park. The drones dancing to syncopated music and coming in after you stood forth and offered a wonderful stream of consciousness narrative about America and the US of A, and I enjoyed that a lot. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
On another note, I drive by that pool as it's being built virtually every day, maybe twice a day, but lately Warner Avenue has been blocked. How long is that going to stay that way?
From what I understand, they put in the workaround. We ran into Searles Valley Minerals older pipeline that I think with everything going on out there, the staff that knew where it was didn't know where it was. And we ran into it, so we're doing a workaround. We moved the location of the pipe so we didn't have to alter and change a bunch of plans on our end. I saw in the photo update from last week that the pipe was in, they've poured kickers. I would assume as soon as they backfill trenches and have it safe, it should be back open to traffic. Terry, you think?
Definitely by Food Truck Friday.
There you go. So
Food Truck Friday, good.
at worst, one more week.
Thank you, my friends.
Good? Okay. So I do also want to thank the staff, the volunteers. There was a lot of volunteers out there. And when I say staff, I mean almost every single department was out there. I mean, I even saw you out there, Kelly. Yeah. So I saw the entire city staff out there. Everybody was a part of the process. And so I appreciate it. I commend the staff. Travis, please pass that on to everybody. and hopefully some of them are listening right now. And it also bears mentioning that the donors aided a great deal, a great deal. Do you have numbers off the top of your head, Travis?
I believe the final donation number was $64,000, or real close to it.
Yep. So it is deeply appreciated, and this community shows up. I think the drones went off well. The whole event was very well done. It was, a pie eating contest. When was the last time anybody saw that? I enjoyed the whole thing thoroughly. I almost got pulled into it, but saved at the nick of time. So thank you to Brianna, nick of time. So thank you to Brianna for, she ended up having to take the lead. I know Jennifer did a lot of planning, and the city staff went and executed. PD, you had a large part in making sure that everybody was staying safe. So thank you guys for that as well. And I'm sure that we have things that we need to work on to make next year better. And I am positive we will do that. So it was a wonderful celebration. Thank you for everyone that came out, and have a good evening. This meeting is adjourned.